What is going on, everybody? I hope you're excited. We are in for a great show. What is going on, everybody? I hope you're excited. We are in for a great show. What is going on, everybody? I hope you're excited. We are in for a great. That was some Inception shit. That was some Inception stuff. Okay, I got streams going off everywhere, guys. If you're here and you saw that, that was pretty crazy. That's what you get when you got like one thing going on over here. I got another thing going on my computer. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Anyways, welcome in, guys. Welcome to the Vince Wilson Show. We've got a lot to cover. A lot has happened. And yes, like the title says, Donald Trump's corruption scheme has officially unraveled. MAGA right now is absolutely losing their mind as they're talking about Donald Trump, and they don't understand that, yes, Donald Trump just lost the plot. It was revealed in the Wall Street Journal. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that part. I'm going to hold that off. We got to go through the story. We got to tell you the background, okay? But today we're going to be covering Epstein. We're going to be talking about immigration. We're going to be talking about Trump's tariff deals. And we're going to watch a few videos at the very end. And as you see, we do have a super chat goal going on YouTube. We're now watching, streaming on horizontal and vertical now. So pretty exciting, right? So we're going to try to do more of that. I want to try to get some more content out there for you guys. As such, we are also going to be trying to upload more videos consistently. So please do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. If you are watching us on Twitch or anything like that, please drop me a follow. All right, guys, let's jump straight into it. I don't want to spare anymore. I don't want to just talk and talk and talk. Let's go ahead and keep going. So first things first, let's talk about the Epstein situation. Before we get into that, I'm going to address the chat. Paul Hardman, welcome in, buddy. Welcome in, Ben as well. Trump is a profoundly disturbed, vile, corrupt individual, traitor. Yeah, and again, he is uniquely in that way. But yes, and again, I would agree with you. He is not convicted in that regard, but it's very interesting to say the least that Donald Trump's. It's interesting to say the least that Donald Trump has not released the files, and Republicans are doing everything they possibly can to protect certain kinds of individuals. Right? All right. So let's jump straight into it. So first things first, Epstein. Let's get into it. All right. So welcome in, guys. If this is your first time being in here, I hope you're having a great time. We are the Vince Wilson Show. We cover a lot of current events and politics. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, and get notified whenever we go live. So Donald Trump basically has been trying to cover for this Epstein story. If you didn't tune in the last show, we covered quite a bit about how Donald Trump is throwing distraction after distraction after distraction after distraction, right? He doesn't want the American people to see just how profoundly corrupt this whole entire thing is, right? He doesn't want people to see that. And so he's been throwing everything at the wall that he possibly can. Well, we're going to go back to just a couple of days ago, 3 days ago. And Donald Trump, again, can't let it go, goes on to Truth Social saying, my poll numbers within the Republican Party and MAGA have gone up significantly since the Epstein hoax was exposed by the radical left Democrats and just plain, quote unquote, troublemakers. They have hit 90%, 92%, and 93 and 95%. Let's be very clear. What he's referring here is all amongst the Republican base. These are not actual normal run-of-the-mill voters. These are basically the hardest, very Republican voters, okay? So he's twisting numbers, and this is what this Republican administration has done time and time again. But again, he can't let it go. And this is going to be a big problem for Donald Trump when it comes to the Epstein case, is that he just can't let it go. And so then next thing you know, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out. The most MAGA of MAGA are starting to come out against Donald Trump with these Epstein files. She's wondering, why is it that this is the case? Why are you trying to hide these files? Marjorie Taylor Greene said, if you tell the base of people who support you of deep state, treasonous crimes, election interference, blackmail, and rich, powerful, evil, and then she goes on all about sorts of conspiracy theories, then you must take down every enemy of the people. If not, the base will turn and there's no going back. Dangling bits of red meat no longer satisfies. They want the whole steak dinner and will accept nothing less. What we can take from this is that Marjorie Taylor Greene does not like the fact that Donald Trump is hiding the Epstein files. She's not really saying that explicitly, but it's heavily implied, right? So then we have Donald Trump over the weekend posting this AI random video of a girl in a bikini catching a snake. Again, not helping some of these accusations, and there's been more videos released of Epstein and Donald Trump in the past few days. Epstein attending a wedding. Donald Trump and Epstein were seen attending a Victoria's Secret runway show. Not creepy at all, by the way. Very few men at that show. It was mostly women. And then we have MAGA Mike Johnson, right? On Levin's show a couple of days ago. And Mark Levin goes on to say that, some people want us to focus on, or we can't waste our time on Epstein, that some people want us to focus on, right? We can't focus on Epstein, guys. We've got to go down and just try to look at something else, right? Look at this distraction. Look at this shiny object. They're trying so desperately to shift the attention away from this Epstein case because they know how badly this case looks for Donald Trump. And as such, as you remember from the last show we saw where Donald Trump sued the Wall Street Journal from releasing that story, by the way, about the fact that Donald Trump sent a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein and put on it a picture of a drawing of a naked woman. That was what happened on there. And you have here that the lawsuit against Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal was assigned to an Obama-appointed judge, Darren Gales. Now, again, why they're an Obama-appointed judge means neither here nor there. The fact is we'll get to this, it's almost certain, based on the way that Donald Trump is handling these cases, this is just sheer trying to pander to his audience. What's going on, Tom Foolery? What's going on, buddy? Lots of MAGA in here that are upset and can't handle the fact that their boy lied to them, called them stupid, and all sorts of other names. A lot of MAGA you're kind of in this zone right now, Tom, just to let you know. A lot of upset MAGA bots in here lately. What's going on, Spartacus? So then we have Caroline Levitt going in front of reporters a couple of days ago, and a reporter asks, why doesn't the president... Tom, let me go ahead and give you a moderator privilege if I can. Let me see. I'm going to add you as a moderator because I definitely need some extra hands. Don't feel obligated. So anyways, Caroline Levitt says the president has said if the DOJ and FBI want to move forward with releasing any credible evidence, they should do so. As to why they have not, you should ask the FBI. Mind you, every single time they ask her, why don't you simply release them? They keep deferring it over to the DOJ, right? They don't want to take any accountability for this. Even then, we saw that Donald Trump was able to go and recommend to Pam Bondi to go ahead and release these grand jury testimonies, which we'll get to that in a minute. So then we have Mike Johnson again being pressed, saying, he said, my belief is we need the administration to have the space to do what it is doing. Oh, and to give you a little bit of background on this, what happened is that the Republicans were going to have to vote. Democrats were going to put forth a vote to release the Epstein files. And right now they are on the verge of a recess. Congress is on the verge of a recess. So what Mike Johnson has done is saying that they're not going to vote to release the files. Saying we're going to go to recess. We're going to go. I believe they even went to recess about 2 weeks early. 2 weeks early. And that's what they're deciding to do. They don't want to actually vote on this bill. And while this is going on, Donald Trump is trying to throw distraction after distraction and decided to take to Truth Social, saying the Washington whatevers should immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team. Now, let's be very clear. Only about 12 years ago, Donald Trump had a totally different approach on this. President should not be telling the Washington Redskins to change their name. Our country has far bigger problems. Focus on them, not nonsense. I would agree with old Donald Trump here. The old version of Donald Trump, I would agree. This is not the pressing issue in America. But we know why he's doing it. It's the same reason, spoiler, that we're going to get to it, why he's trying to pursue Obama for various things that took place in 2016. And we'll get to that story as well. Here's another thing from Caroline Levitt now talking about it, saying that the president was serious. Sports is one of his many passions. He likes to see results on behalf of the American people. See, I remember a few years ago when certain Republicans getting upset at the fact that sports players were taking a knee. It wasn't that long ago. But now all of a sudden it's an issue? All of a sudden now it's an issue, right? Again, I remember Republicans saying, keep politics out of my sports. No, this is patently keeping politics in sports. Yeah, right, Tom. He's controlling these NPCs in chat to forget Epstein. I don't know what it is, Tom. Sometimes I get them in here and they go crazy, and that's okay. Look, they want to contribute to this channel. They're doing so by chatting. So, more the merrier. Let's see. So then what we have here is we found out that Epstein was it started to heat up a little bit about yesterday, right? We found out that there was discussions that Ghislaine Maxwell would actually testify in front of Congress. And this led Donald Trump's former personal attorney to go visit her in prison. And Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney said, I can confirm that we're in discussions with the government and that Ghislaine Maxwell will always testify truthfully. We are grateful to President Trump for his commitment to uncovering the truth in this case. Now, let's be very clear. Ghislaine Maxwell is hit or miss on which way she's going to go. There's a lot of speculation that she is going to testify in a manner in which she would get a pardon. And we've seen this from numerous other people who are facing federal charges where they try to all of a sudden ramp up and say, yes, I love Donald Trump. Now they love Donald Trump because they know if they can get on his good side, they'll get a pardon. We saw this with Tiger King, by the way. So there's no telling how she would testify. It can go one way or the other. If she's doing it for pure justice, she would, probably come at it a little bit truthfully. But the real test of this is if she gets an actual pardon after this, then we know it's probably a quid pro quo. We already talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And then Mike Johnson, this was a couple of days ago, I believe in maximum transparency. I think every single House Republican will say the same thing. We also understand the other part of the duty is we get to protect innocent victims. Again, the problem with these Epstein files is none of us are saying that you can't redact the victims' names. I would not want that out there. I don't want the victims' names out there. I don't want some of these evidences out there. I don't want that. But release the files. See, the problem with Donald Trump right now that's going on is that the more that he tries to hide this, the worse that it is. I'll be very honest with you, and I tweeted this out today. I said, look, if he would have just released the files, we would have been done and moved on with by now. But the fact that he doubles down, triples down, and continues to try to hide this thing makes it that much worse. Why? Because it begs the question, why are you so adamant in not releasing these files? But again, and he's dragging MAGA into this, and he's putting Republicans in a very precarious position. Republicans are about to go on recess for the next couple of months and have to go to their constituents that are calling them nonstop, asking them about these files. Not to mention, by the way, all the fact of and we'll get to the economy, their grocery prices are not going down. They're going up. Their gas prices are going up. All of that they have to face when they go home on the recess, which is why, spoiler, and we'll get to it, Republicans ended up voting just today, a couple hours ago, I believe, to actually release the files. I believe it was the House and Ways Committee, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Mike Johnson here saying, being asked, did the president ask you to delay the resolution again to bring forth a vote, until after recess? He said, as you all know, I speak to the president multiple times a day, often, always. Again, not really answering the question because it sure as all get out seems like Donald Trump is probably suggesting to Mike Johnson to delay the release of this file. He's hoping to buy time, but the reality is Americans want to see it. And so here we have Thomas Massey out there. MTG saying, I can tell you, or sorry, not Tom Sassi. MTG saying, I can tell you that for the past more than a week, the highest volume of calls in my office has been about the Epstein files. People want the information. MTG is saying this, guys. They're probably one of the most MAGA conservatives in Congress. And she is getting harassed about these Epstein files. And so all of this pressure, it has now led the House Oversight Committee that they will subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. And I don't know if I have it up here, so I'll spoil it. The problem with this is that Comer revealed that they are going to do a deposition. They're not going to bring her to Congress to testify. So now we've got a whole nother issue. What is she going to say? It's going to be in a deposition. Is this going to be released in its entirety? So more issues, right? And now you have another Congress member saying, I don't believe it's a matter of Republicans trying to block anything. And then Jake Tapper, this is the other problem, is we're having the media consistently covering for Donald Trump, such as Jake Tapper. And you all remember, I believe it was Jake Tapper, that released that book about how great Donald Trump is. I'd have to look at it again. But he's wanting to change topics. He's like, yeah, okay, let's, literally, you have Pete Sessions saying, I don't believe it's a matter of Republicans trying to block anything. And then you have Jake Tapper literally a second later going, let's change topics. That's literally what y'all are doing, is trying to block the information from getting out. And I think Aaron Rupar put this perfectly. This clip perfectly illustrates how Republicans successfully flood the zone with conspiracy theories. Ron Johnson is asked about Epstein. He immediately changes the topic to Obama. And then the host chases the shiny object and asks about Obama. And Johnson never has to weigh in on the Epstein cover-up. That's exactly what's going on. As Republicans know how to play this game, right? They can say, hey, look over here. Look over here. I got this right here, this nice little shiny object. And they chase it. And then we have Tom Tillis saying, release the damn files. This nonsense of, well, we got to protect the innocent, that's called redaction. We do that all the time. That's kind of a fake or bad reason to stop something. Hold on one second. So then you have Tom Tillis saying, release the damn files, this nonsense of, well, we got to protect the innocent. And this is the issue, right? Is that Republicans are facing this pressure. And you can see it right here with Tom Tillis. So anyways, you got Speaker Mike Johnson again. This is a really interesting clip. So watch what happens here, okay? Watch what happens here. It's crazy. Speaker Johnson says he has been speaking privately with President Trump on the Epstein files. We've talked about this privately. He's trying to achieve the same objective that we are, right? We've talked about it. All right, so now they've talked about the Epstein files, clearly, even though he said they didn't. They don't talk about it. Now he says the caveat is, can Maxwell be counted on to tell the truth? She's being sentenced to many, many years in prison. So what you see is Mike Johnson trying to reframe the narrative, right? He's trying to change the narrative. He's trying to prep in case she does testify in a manner that is harmful to Donald Trump's testimony. And so what you're also seeing is, and I don't have it up, but later Mike Johnson says, well, we don't really know if it's been, or we think that the files have been changed by the Democrats. It's crazy to me. They're trying to change the narrative in front of our faces. But then what's even crazier is shortly after that interview where Mike Johnson talked about that, you know, we're super transparent about Epstein and blah, 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 blah. He then goes on saying that we have to stop the scourge and serve those who have been victims of it, referring to human trafficking. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me to sit here and you want to be a champion for this cause, but yet you're not doing anything. You're protecting the person who is the core person, who is like the symbol of that particular bad act. You're protecting Epstein. You're protecting that predator. And so then what we see, and for anybody who isn't aware of last show, the Pam Bondi put forth and went in front of the judge and said, hey, we want you to release these grand jury testimony. We found out that it may not have been the full testimony. It might have been just one person. Then we found out that it was probably going to be messed up in some case, and it was because the the DOJ admitted in the filing that they were, not totally able to release. They understand that the court cannot fully release these things. And sure enough, the U.S. judge reject the bid to unseal Epstein grand jury transcripts from Florida probe. So, surprise, surprise, right? We all knew this was coming, right? They're trying to throw me at the fish, and now what they're going to say is they say, well, look, we tried to release this, but guess what? We couldn't do anything about it. And they're going to blame the judges, right? Well, and this is where we get to the moment we've all been waiting for. The pressure just waited forever. So Tulsi Gabbard went up today and tried to do a distraction technique and tried to put out there about this new Obama probe. Kept talking about it, everything else. I would want to say about 30 minutes to an hour after that press conference ended, this article right here came out. Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. This is the moment. This was an absolutely crazy report to get. This is from the Wall Street Journal. And a lot of MAGA were saying, well, it's the Wall Street Journal. We can't believe them. We can't believe everything they have to say. To that, I would argue, why would they put something out like this if they know this president is litigious? They know that he is going to sue the ever-living daylights out of that journal. They would not do something they're not confident in. And we all knew this to some extent, right? But again, the problem is because he has tried so hard to keep this under wraps, it has made it significantly more worse. Be right back. All right. Sorry about that. My dog was going nuts at the door. So then we got this list going, right? And so that now is where we are at in this saga. And I want to show you this because I think it's interesting to note. Back around July 23rd, Pam Bondi was Trump was asked, did Bondi tell you your name appeared in the Epstein files? And Trump said, no, these files were made up by Comey, Obama, and made up by Biden. Patently lying right now. Patently lying. So again, to summarize where we're at, Donald Trump has been trying to cover this story. He's been trying to throw distraction after distraction after distraction to try to get away from this story. I do believe that if Donald Trump just released this file, maybe there's some redactions, maybe there's not, it would have made the MAGA conservatives look a hell of a lot less like with mud on their face. It would have been a story that probably would have faded. But the fact that Donald Trump is so adamant and lying and doesn't have a truthful bone in his body, it has made this story exponentially worse. Because now everybody's wondering, why are you covering for this predator? Republicans are now in a precarious position because they claim to love children. They claim to love them, but then they want to cover for this predator. So it's very, very sad to see where things are going. Where the future goes, right now we're looking at Ghislaine Maxwell testifying. We're waiting for Donald Trump to really give a statement on this new revelation from the Wall Street Journal. My guess is that Donald Trump will say that this is a fake story. He'll probably bring up Obama, Biden, who knows who else. And he's going to double down because Donald Trump can never admit he's wrong. That's a thing that Donald Trump does. He can never admit when he's wrong. Period. Let's go ahead and take some of y'all's chats. I see y'all going crazy in there. Too bad Johnson shut down Congress to dodge, then blame Biden. Yeah, no, and that's the thing is that Johnson shut it down. And it was crazy to me, right? Like, Again, they shut it down pretty early, but there were still people in committees that were voting, and Republicans voted, I think it was like 8-2, to release the files. But this was in a committee. It wasn't on the floor. Let's see. How about the black? Okay, why is that relevant? No, you know what? You can go time out for a minute. My patience is going crazy. Trump should be deported and kick him out of the White House. Well, again, I think this is a big issue. So I think that the Epstein case will be one of, if not the first investigations that I think Democrats ought to open. And I think they ought to open the investigation. I think Congress needs to investigate this cover-up. This is a gross cover-up by this administration. That's just how it is. Trump has many videos of him saying creepy stuff about his attraction towards children with Epstein and his child beauty pageant. Yeah, and that's the whole thing, Anthony, is that it's crazy to me that there's so much evidence behind what's going on with Trump that if even a fraction of that were what happened with Biden, we wouldn't hear the end of it. We saw one fake story come out about Biden and his daughter, and we didn't stop hearing about it for the next 4 years. And it was one fake story. Donald Trump has evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence of him being with Epstein. And MAGA just brushes it off like it's nobody's big deal. And here's my question to you guys. I tweeted this out. If you are somebody who's in chat right now, that's not a bot as it seems, who sat there and was screaming about how Democrats covered up for Biden and how it needs to be investigated and how we need to overturn all this stuff because, they lied to the American people. What do you think about this cover-up? This is a pretty gross cover-up, would you not say? House Oversight voted to subpoena the DOJ for the Epstein list. Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying, right, Dan Fries? That's exactly it. Welcome back in, buddy. You spew propaganda. You sound okay. Well, then if you don't like the channel, then I'll put you in timeout for 24 hours. That's fine. I'll go full censorship. We'll get to censorship as well, because Donald Trump was found to be censoring a lot of people. Hey, by the way, guys, if you are watching the channel and you are enjoying the content, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. Let's try to get our likes up there pretty good. All right, let's go on to the next stories, and we're going to talk about the economy for a little bit. Okay. Thank you so much, Spartacus. I appreciate what you do, buddy. I don't know why Nightbot is hiding these lists, Gear Jammer. I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's blocking you guys. But I can see all this stuff. It's just tribal warfare for MAGA. They don't care about kids. No, they don't. And Great Divide, that's the biggest problem I have with MAGA, right? They have touted, I always push MAGA when it comes to this. I'll sit there and ask them. I'll say, you say that you think about, Jocelyn Nungary and some of these other people, right, that are some of these children that are killed by undocumented immigrants. Can you name 5 children? You don't care about children. Republicans and MAGA don't care about the children. They use them as political pawns because they can't name more than 5 children or 3 children, quite frankly. And this is exactly what happens. We saw this, by the way, during the State of the Union or whatever it was, one of Donald Trump's first speeches to Congress, where he had that kid with the brain cancer that ended up bringing him in. I haven't heard anything about it since. That's it. You see what I'm saying? So what Republicans do is they bring them in. They try to sit there and use them as political pawns to further advance their agenda. And then when they're in office, they tend to ignore them. And that's what happens. This is the exact same thing, by the way, that happened with FEMA, right? Donald Trump went all the way down to North Carolina and said, hey, look, guys, I'm here. I'm here at the front thing, And how many natural disasters have we had in this past year? And all of a sudden, there's one in a red state. And oh, my goodness. There's one disaster in a red state, and now Donald Trump is down there. By the way, we've had tornadoes go through the Midwest, and they've begged for funding, and they didn't provide any of it. We've had torrential downpours, flooding in massive areas, and nothing from the administration. FEMA is trash, always has been. We'll take that up with Kristi Noem. And the head of FEMA, by the way, had been not seen at all. And I think the head of FEMA actually came out, or not the head of FEMA, somebody in FEMA came out and revealed that it was an absolute disaster. Yeah, Arkansas and Missouri. Thank you, Dan. That was exactly it. Arkansas and Missouri got screwed. 100% knockout. Trump first, America last, and that's exactly how he operates. How everyone is worried about people being in the right lines drawn on the globe whenever U.S. city is lined with homeless people is beyond me. Well, and Mac, that's the crazy thing about it, right? Is that Donald Trump ran talking about people caring. The Republicans, have you always noticed this? How Republicans run on, feeding the homeless and how much money we should be giving to homeless veterans, and then nothing ever really gets done about it afterwards, right? Convenient that happens. Trump is the best American people can trust. If you trust Donald Trump, then I am deeply concerned about your judgment. Trump definitely made it so that as of last week, it's not cool to be MAGA anymore. Trump left MAGA an egg on their face. He failed them and America. Well, Anthony, the thing about that, too, and I tell people this all the time, is understand, too, that Donald Trump is not all of MAGA. He is the spokesperson for MAGA, but he is not MAGA. MAGA is an ideology. When I talk about MAGA as a cult, it's a cult of personality. There's a whole lot more personality that comes along with it. So when this whole Epstein thing is going down with Donald Trump, I've told people, they're like, oh, this is going to be the end of MAGA. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because MAGA is an ideology. That means that what they're going to do is they're going to look for a way. They may drop Trump, on the rare chance they do, by the way. I don't think they will. They're showing they won't. Okay? But in the rare chance that they do, they'll just pick up a new spokesperson. That's how that works. Yeah, I agree, and Mac. We have a lot of things in common, Jeffrey. That letter was wild. Now, again, this was only like a week ago, less than a week ago. We'll see how that letter turns out. MAGA is the cult. Your party is filling the ways of Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, it's Sodom, not Solomon. I don't know why he said Solomon. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. They definitely need to. Trump are a world leader. MAGA cult. Democrats always accuse us of what they are guilty of. There's no way, any way that the Democratic Party is a cult. In fact, it's the complete opposite. See, if you look at a bell curve right now, the Republican Party is like this. The Democratic Party is like a flat line. And the reason why, and I can actually point to you, by the way, on this, look no further than Kamala Harris on the last election, right? Kamala Harris lost because there were certain sects of the sects, being SECTS, okay, of the Democratic Party that were so much on a one-issue voter. We can look no further than Dearborn, Michigan, for example, that were pro-Palestine. And I get it. I'm not gonna get on that topic, but what I am gonna say is that in and of itself shows that the left is not a cult. However, on the Republican side, you have numerous Republicans in Congress. I think there's one or two people, but all Republicans have said, trust Donald Trump. We trust Donald Trump. And every time they get up there with Donald Trump, they have to praise their dear leader, kiss his ring. You don't see that in the Democratic Party. And I'm kind of glad we don't. I wish we had more coalition, right? I wish we had more cohesion, and we don't have that. But that's not at all what's on the Democratic Party. The Republican Party is 100% all in on Donald Trump. They've even got their MAGA hats. Michael Wilbur, Democrats' party is like a cardiac rhythm flatline. I get the pun there. And again, the issue that we've seen, and by the way, again, just FYI, the reason why we're seeing the Democratic Party being so low on their approval numbers is because of the fact that Democrats are upset with how their party is handling Donald Trump. Chuck Schumer going in and saying, I'm not going to vote on this bill, and then votes on the bill. By the time Trump is done all will be exposed on his timetable. Anybody, not anybody else's? Okay, not sure. All right, guys, look, we're going to the next story. We're going to start talking about the economy. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. And if you are feeling extremely generous and you want to donate, please feel free to donate. Our goal with this show is that we want to take it further. We want to move and grow. So every dollar that is donated, we put back into the show. That is how we are going to grow. The way you can do it free is just hit a like, subscribe, notification bell. All right, so let's go to the next thing. All right, so Trump has been trying to go after Powell. He has been trying to find every way that he possibly can, right? And what he has done is he is now saying that he's not going to fire Powell. But rest assured, I don't believe that he's going to not fire Powell. There's about 8 more months before he has to appoint a new Fed chair, or I think a little bit more than that. By the way, Powell was somebody that Trump appointed, FYI, and now he wants to get rid of him. Well, Trump took to Truth Social. The Wall Street Journal ran a typical untruthful story today by saying that Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent explained to me that firing Jerome Too Late Powell, the worst Federal Reserve chairman in history that Donald Trump nominated, would be bad for the market. Nobody had to explain to me. I know better than anybody what's good for the market. Trump does not know what's best for the market, says all of his bankruptcies, and what's good for the USA. If it weren't for me, the market wouldn't be at record highs right now. Keep in mind, by the way, guys, Joe Biden saw 34 some odd record highs on the stock market just last year, but we didn't hear any about that from Republicans, convenient enough. So get your information correct. Please don't explain to me. People don't explain to me. I explain to them. No, you don't. And again, Donald Trump is trying to do everything he can to go after Powell. What the problem is that he cannot fire Powell right now without cause. So what they have done and concocted is that they're now trying to go after Jerome Powell for fraud. We see here Republican Representative Anna Paulina Crazy, has formally referred the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, to the Department of Justice for lying under oath, perjury, in relation to statements he made to the U.S. Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs, as well as other federal officials regarding the renovation. This renovation that they keep talking about. So they want to get him on perjury. That would then create cause for them to be able to then fire Jerome Powell. Keep in mind, this is a Republican representative going forth to try to help Trump out. Remember we talked about, they said the Democratic Party is a cult. Explain this to me then, how this is not cult-like behavior. Sending his goons out to then try and get Jerome Powell fired. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And then we have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Trump's tariffs. We're more concerned with high-quality deals than getting these deals done by August 1st. See, here's the thing. Donald Trump has consistently moved back his tariff deadline, right? At first he was like, oh, well, we'll just do it on, August. First it was like June something or another. Then it was July, and now it's August 1st. And now they're pushing it back even further. See, this is why the stock market is at record highs, by the way. It's not because of Donald Trump's economic policy. The reason that stock markets are at highs is because they have factored in what it is that Donald Trump does. Tacos out. Trump always chickens out. And here it is here. I thought this was a really interesting montage. CNN put together a montage of Lutnick promising that deals are coming soon. See, here's the thing, right? Howard Lutnick has gone out there. I was about to say something else. Went out there and said, hey, look, guys, more deals are coming. 90 deals in 90 days, right? That was what we heard. So far, the best tally we've got is about 4 or 5 deals at best. And they're not even really deals. We'll get into that shortly. But they're not even real deals. Bessent now says that August 12th China tariff deadline likely to be extended in talks planned in Stockholm. So now it was August 1st, and now it's August 12th, and then it'll be August 30th, and then it'll be September 30th. With more time, surely something will change. This is why the stock market is reflecting this. And then we have Charlie Kirk, which, by the way, talking about Charlie Kirk that I found interesting, to go back to the Epstein case. There was rumors circulating that the White House was putting out talking points to some of these MAGA influencers. I'm not accusing Charlie Kirk of this, but there are very suspicious tweets that have come out with Charlie Kirk to suggest that he is trying to do everything he can to divert attention away from this Epstein story. But I digress. We'll go back on the topic of the economy. Charlie Kirk said the United States has generated $100 billion this year from tariffs as of July 14th. The latest today available, 111% more than the same time last year. Yeah, that tends to happen when you increase a tariff, it goes up. That's kind of how it works. And it kind of works in the way that we're going to see revenues increase. But the problem is that when you increase the cost onto a business, they are going to pass that down to the consumer. That $100 billion is not going to get eaten by the business. No, it's going to get eaten by the consumer. The consumer is going to be the one to pay for that cost. That's not a free $100 billion right there, okay? And there's no way for these companies to get away from these tariffs. So then you see here, The U.S. is expected to be the only one out of 184 countries to see foreign visitor spending fall in 2025, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council. See, we're seeing this play out, by the way, in hot tourist destinations like Las Vegas and Florida and things of that nature. First of all, there's two factors that are playing into this. One is Donald Trump's horrible, horrendous deportation policy. The second is that our prices are increasing. Okay? So nobody wants to come visit the United States right now. So this goes back to the whole point, right? You got the deportation policies that are affecting not just these tourist sectors, but you're also seeing this deportation policy affect the supply chain as well, with workers not going to work, whether it be construction, whether it be the farm, whether it be whatever it might be, maintenance, whatever they do. And I'm using these, by the way, because that is what studies have shown time and time again that they use. That's where they work. And so there's also this YouGov poll that came out to show people's disapproval of this administration. The state of the U.S. economy, 37% said fair. Only 26% said good, and typically that 26%, what we find time and time again, tend to be the more MAGA Republicans. And only 3% say excellent. Now, I want you to look at this chart. This chart is very important, okay? Look at this sentiment. Good has gone up a little bit. Excellent has stayed a little bit down. Fair has kind of been the same, but it's gone down a little bit here. And poor is starting to increase as well. So again, most Americans are feeling the pinch of their wallet. And then we have this. General Motors says Trump's tariffs have already cost them $1 billion and could reach $5 billion by year's end. And like Republicans against Trump said, weren't those tariffs supposed to help American car companies? Not really. And keep in mind now, you're going to see some of these talking points come out that now cars are being manufactured here in the United States. That is just patently untrue. What's actually happening is they're building some of the components here in the United States, but it's not 100% through and through built in the United States. Take a minute here to read through some of the chat. This guy buying all the propaganda in the polls, like no one takes polls. We too busy working. We're too busy working. Yeah, spoiler alert, by the way, the left works, my guy. Anyways, funny how the world has enslaved itself with debt and more cameras are pointed at you and me instead of space. Funny how the world has enslaved itself with debt and more cameras are pointed at you and me instead of space. Interesting. That's an interesting way of putting it, Michael. Trump out here protecting his fellow. Nothing is true for you except if it's propaganda. Nothing is true for you except if it's propaganda. The only propaganda right now being perpetrated by the administration in Washington. How's that boot taste, White? The left works at Starbucks. Yeah, they work at Starbucks. They make coffee, right? Cappuccinos, frappuccinos, all that stuff, right? That's the left. No righties will ever work at Starbucks, right? Okay. They want. Okay. I'll let you take a time out on that one. All right. 7% of U.S. GDP is from blue counties. Yeah, no, Dan, you're 100% correct, right? That's the problem is that typically blue counties and blue states subsidize a lot of the red states. They give more to the federal government than they take in. But don't tell Republicans that because they won't understand. They're very two-dimensional. Don't tread on me, they say. First authoritarian, tread on me. Yeah, pretty much, Jacob, right? Don't tread on me. And then they want Trump to tread on them. It's pretty crazy. So then we saw this past week, EU and Japan make some deals. All right. So Caroline Levitt went on there, said they have agreed to lower their tariff and non-tariff barriers so we can sell our products, and they will continue to pay tariffs to sell products to us. Only President Trump can do that. I want to be very clear. She kind of snuck that in. She said they will continue to pay tariffs to sell products to us. This is that myth again that she's trying to say that countries are going to pay for the tariffs. No, they're not. That's not how that works. So the part of this deal was with the EU. 30% tariffs on everything the U.S. exports to Europe. And then EU's €100 billion no deal plan to match US 30%. So basically, we're going to have to pay tariffs on everything that's being exported from UK or EU to the United States. 30% tariffs. Let that sink in. 30%. That's not really a deal. And then we had the Japan deal. The Japan deal was announced. I don't know if we had gotten confirmation of it just yet. From my understanding, the Japan trade deal would have to be approved through their legislative session or whatever it was, but they're not in session. So I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but this is some of the outline of it. Japan requires, there it is, legislative approval deal. And then Japan invested $783 billion, not 550, or sorry, $783 billion between 2018 and 2023, even though Trump is claiming they'll invest $550 billion in the USA. That's not really going to happen. But the problem with this is that they're going to do a 15% tariff on everything exported from Japan to the United States. See, this is the crazy thing about these deals, right? These deals. They're giving these countries essentially free crap, right? Japan's getting a 0% tariff on all imports. EU's getting like 0% tariffs on imports. But then exports coming back to the United States is going to be 15, 20, 30. That's going to harm the American consumer. How is that putting America first? How is that putting America first? It's not. It's not putting America first. Spoiler alert. And now we're seeing NBC News reporting that the U.S. economy is headed into a period of noticeably slower growth thanks to the tariff impact on inflation and consumer spending, according to Goldman Sachs. See, guys, I've been very bullish on this, okay? I do believe that we are heading straight towards a recession. I do. In fact, on July 30th, in 7 days, okay, 7 days, we will hear whether or not we are in a recession. There have been people that have said we'll see some of those results play out in Q3. And I've told people this. I say, look, they're like, well, Q1 was really bad. And I'm like, has the economic environment gotten better since Q1? It's gotten worse. You would have to argue with me. We were already low on GDP. Okay, we were in a decline on GDP growth in the first quarter. I don't see how we could possibly be getting any better in Q2. I just don't see it. And keep in mind, too, when it is announced, remember, MAGA used the standard of 2 consecutive quarters of GDP decline as an indicator of a recession. Now, I am not someone to sit there and say that that is the official definition, but it is the colloquial definition. Biden put us in a recession. No, Biden did not put us in a recession. In fact, at best, if you want to give him anything, there was 2 periods of GDP decline, but that was about it. And again, that's like at best. It was hardly, if it is a recession, it was hardly one of a recession. Has me worried, Vince. No, I agree with you, Spartacus. Again, a lot of people are overplaying their hand here. And again, just like the Epstein files, MAGA is going to look real dumb when they have to try to explain for the fact of why they're in a recession. Of course, we all know what they're going to do. They're going to blame Obama. They're going to blame Biden. They're going to blame everybody but Donald Trump, their dear leader. We're also seeing housing, apparently. Trump saying housing lagging because Powell refuses to lower rates. The reality is that housing is becoming more difficult to buy for 2 reasons. Prices are going up. You have labor that is no longer there. There's a labor shortage because guess what? Donald Trump is trying to deport everybody and their mother. Lumber prices are going up because of Donald Trump's tariff policy on Canada. It's not because of Powell. It's because of Donald Trump's own policies that he refuses to do and look in the mirror. So, as we can see with the economy, Donald Trump is causing us to head straight towards a recession. He's making terrible, terrible deals. Terrible deals. And he's claiming them as good. All right. Voice of reason. You haven't thought any of this through. I have definitely thought some of this through. Apparently, that's the best rebuttal you can come up with, apparently, which means that I'm doing a pretty good job. You don't have a rebuttal for it. We don't send anybody to camps. That's a lie, and you know it. I didn't say anybody's being sent to a camp, but thank you for that. Recession will happen only when the cheap capital from 3 years ago gets squeezed by these high rates. Lower the rates. Recession will happen when the cheap capital from 3 years ago gets squeezed by these high rates. Lower the rates. What do you mean by that? the cheap capital from 3 years ago gets squeezed by these high rates. MAGA loves Epstein. Biden's handlers put us in a recession. Biden's handlers put us in a recession. I wonder what you think about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is clearly not truly leading this administration. There's a lot of people behind the scenes, whether you like to believe it or not, that seem to be really pulling a lot of the strings right now. Trump going to save this country, but keep crying, please. When he does, you look so ignorant. Donald Trump is far from saving this country. He's absolutely sent us into an economic spiral. What's the solution then? The solution is very simple. You want to implement tariffs, you totally can. I have no problem against tariffs. The solution here is that you implement targeted tariffs on targeted industries that you want to see coming to the United States. Throwing a blanket tariff on a particular country does no good. If you want the steel industry to come back to the United States, you might impose tariffs on those countries that make the most amount of steel and try to pressure them. No problem on those industries. There's no problem with that. Targeted, something that's not outlandish. I think 30% is insane. That's the way you do it. You can also work out a trade deal that favors both countries. When you're doing a 30% tariff on the United States and giving the country 0% tariffs, hell yeah, they're going to take that deal. Why? Because guess what? Now they can get all of their products from the United States tariff-free. Now, you might be saying, well, that sounds like it'll boost manufacturing here in the United States. Not quite. Not quite. Especially when there's some of that raw materials and things that we get from other countries, we can only get from those countries. Like, it's not quite the way that you think it is, right? Certain metals and rare earth minerals, right? We can only get from certain countries. Other countries steal from us using tariffs forever. Now we start doing it, and y'all cry about it. Y'all ignorant. I don't know what you're saying. I'm ignorant. I've already said I'm not against tariffs. I'm against in the way that Donald Trump is using these tariffs. Simple as that. Who says they only work low-wage jobs? You're the one stating this. What, that other countries are low-wage jobs? Or are you talking about migrants? Migrants typically work low-wage jobs, typically. But one of the studies that I looked at is that over time they do get more money. And I've actually been advocating for the fact that migrants should become U.S. citizens, those who are abiding the law, okay, that have come to this country. Maybe they crossed illegally. That's totally fine. If they are abiding our laws, they should absolutely become a migrant and be abiding by the federal minimum wage. By the way, spoiler alert, a lot of people don't know this. Farmers are typically exempt from a lot of minimum wage laws. So it's kind of crazy to me when they sit there and they go like, oh, well, you're for slave wages. It's like, not really. The farmers get paid less than minimum wage, just like waiters do. So they should be increasing that too, in my opinion. King, how come he won't release the lists? He won't release the list because he's on them. Or files, at least. And I'm almost positive at this point. The only reason why he's like holding this up is because of that fact. So you know more about tariffs than Trump admin now? You want me to be honest with you? The voice of reason? The way that Donald Trump's administration is handling this, yes, I do believe that I probably have a better understanding of tariffs than they do. I would hope I don't. I would hope that they're smart. But if they are intelligent enough, they're handling this the entirely incorrect way. And they're not exhibiting that they do. And in fact, a lot of people that Donald Trump have put in their positions are, in my opinion, totally unqualified. Totally unqualified. I think Bessent might be a little more qualified, but not a whole lot. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, but people are here, so I give you that. Good luck. All right, thank you, Voice of Reason. You came in here and you contributed, I guess. Are you a recruit for Sam Project? All right. Let's go on to the next one. So we're going to dive into this Obama ordeal, okay? Because one of the things that Donald Trump was trying to do was trying to play out this idea that Obama had a hand in the 2016 election interference case. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate the kind comments. That's why he flip-flops on them constantly. Tariffs are just a distraction. That's why he flip-flops. Yeah, no, 100%. All right. Hey, guys, real quick, before we get to the next segment, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you haven't already. And if you're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, any of those, please make sure you hit that follow button. Twitch or Twitter or X. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So, drum roll and go. Donald Trump's administration has absolutely tried to distract from the Epstein case. They are now trying to claim that Obama is guilty with and so many, actually, Donald Trump has explicitly stated this, is that Obama is guilty of treason. Yes, that is what Donald Trump is claiming, is that Obama is guilty of treason because he's so desperate to shift the attention away from the Epstein case. So desperate. And we're seeing some of this play out right now. For example, one of the things that they're doing is we see Donald Trump posting AI videos of Obama getting arrested. Yeah, that's where we're at. Not authoritarian stuff, guys. It's totally not authoritarian stuff. And then we see him posting things like this, the Shady Bunch. Now, the interesting thing about this photo, there's a couple of things to note on this photo. First and foremost, he retweeted this out from a far-right account, and I mean far-right. I'm not talking about like the left's version of far. No, I mean the far-right. Okay? That's where this originated from. Secondly, there's two things here. One, you see Obama wearing a tan jumpsuit. Now, there's two implications here. One, this could be a reference back to the tan suit debacle. I can't believe this is still a thing. Or, like someone I had saw mentioned before, this could be because this is for the feds in which they then deport somebody. Take note that everybody else's name on here does not have a middle name quite a bit. But look at what Barack Obama's name is. It's the full name, Barack Hussein Obama. That's how they name this. Again, very clear what the implication is here. And so Donald Trump is sharing this. Our president is sharing this. And then you see things like this from Scott Bessent. Newspapers like the Wall Street Journal are not used to a high-functioning, questionably, executive president. They are used to perhaps President Obama, who is not as economically sophisticated as President Trump. Well, first and foremost, Obama helped us get out of the 2008 financial crisis, first and foremost. Secondly, to imply that there's a lot of racial undertones in this, quite frankly, to say that Obama does not understand economics or that he's not as economically sophisticated as Trump. Trump isn't sophisticated in his trade deals at all, and they're terrible trade deals. We already went over that. And now we're seeing people like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, going out there saying he has no concerns at all about bringing former President Barack Obama in for a congressional deposition or subpoena over the newly declassified document bombshell. Keep in mind, though, like Kyle Cheney says here, Congress can't compel presidents, current or former, to testify. But they want him. They want Barack Obama to come in to testify. Mainly, most of this is for a distraction, obviously, but they are wanting to do this. And again, I could just only imagine if Biden or any other president that's a Democratic president did this. And so we see President Trump holding a press conference with members of Congress. And he said, "Where's Tulsi? She's like hotter than everybody because she found out Barack Hussein Obama." See how he says Hussein? And this is the thing they always do. Donald Trump, and we've seen this with Mamdani, by the way, right? Where Trump has brought out a xenophobia and a racism that we have not seen in this country in, quite frankly, a long time. Now, I'm someone who is a former conservative. There was some bad things going on. I'll be honest with you. It's very interesting to me. Trump's first administration, I don't feel was, in terms of this, bad as it is now. Now it's worse. It's like your 60s, your grandfather or great-grandfather was born in the 40s or 50s, going out, and by the way, Donald Trump was born in the 40s, I think, going out there and just spewing patently racist shit. And that's what's going on here. But anyways, would you say there's even a little question where's Tulsi? She says, no, Speaker, she's hotter than you. Donald Trump over there talking about Tulsi. Now, see, by the way, if you said any of this stuff in your office, you're probably dealing with a harassment suit coming straight at your door. But I want to cover this. It's interesting. So they're trying to talk about how Obama generated this fake election interference thing from 2016. But here's the thing. Who led the investigation after the 2016 election? It was guess what? Marco Rubio. And here's Marco Rubio talking about this election interference case. Let's go ahead and listen to this. Take a listen to this.
Cyber tools were used as a means to an end. It isn't necessarily what we should be focused on here. What we're talking about here is active measures. the active measures taken by the government of Vladimir Putin to influence and to potentially manipulate American public opinion for the purpose of discrediting individual political figures, sowing chaos and division in our politics, sowing doubts about the legitimacy of our elections. So if you look at the situation we now face, here's the aftermath. We had an election where, after some intrusions into some state databases, there was a one nominee for president warning about fraud in the election. Then after the election, we have some on the other side questioning the legitimacy of the president-elect because of Russian interference. And we have the president-elect questioning the credibility of the intelligence community because of its findings. This sounds like a pretty...
Marco Rubio's right on point. Basically, Russia did interfere in 2016 elections, just not quite in the way that Republicans are trying to paint this out to be. And then we saw Donald Trump from 2018. By the way, shout out Blue Georgia for providing all of these. Let's go ahead and listen to what Donald Trump said in July 2018.
Let me be totally clear in saying that, and I've said this many times, I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also.
So Donald Trump back in 2016, back in 2018, I'm sorry, said, I accept their findings. Now all of a sudden he doesn't accept those findings? All right. But you know what? Let's not stop there, guys. Let's go to this next one. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders from 2018.
It's very clear that Russia meddled in the election.
Oh, okay. I mean, you got Marco Rubio, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Donald Trump all saying the same thing. And now all of a sudden they're saying, no, but it didn't happen like that. So this is what Tulsi Gabbard put out today. And I want us to walk through this because I find it fascinating. I think a lot of people have to understand there's a lot of wordplay that is going on right now. So Tulsi Gabbard says, new evidence has emerged of the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history. Per President Trump's directive, I have declassified a House Intel Oversight Majority Staff report that exposes how the Obama administration manufactured the January 2017 intelligence community assessment and that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election. So what they're trying to say by this, understand what they're doing here. They're trying to say that Putin preferred Trump. Now, one of the things that were founded in these documents was that he did prefer Trump over Hillary Clinton. But that's not really the issue at hand. The issue at hand is whether or not Russia interfered, and they absolutely did by every single assessment, and we'll get into that in just a second. Then there's the other claim that gets made, which is which nobody on the left made this claim, that they somehow hacked the actual booths. That's not what the claim has ever been, quite frankly. Ever since the very beginning, you go back to the September 2016 emails that Tulsi Gabbard just released this week, you'll see it's all about social media campaigns, in essence, right? That's basically what this comes down to. But don't take it from me. See it for yourself. So this is a key part I want people to see. In Tulsi Gabbard's own release, this is where it's at. Let's zoom in as much as I can here. Most ICA judgments on Russia's activities in the U.S. election employed proper analytic tradecraft and were consistent with observed Russian behavior. The key judgments found to be credible include: 1, President Putin ordered conventional and cyber influence operations, notably by leaking politically sensitive emails obtained from computer intrusions. 2, Putin's principal motivation in these operations were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process and to weaken what the Russians consider to be an inevitable Clinton presidency. And 3, Putin held back leaking some compromising material for post-election use against the expected Clinton administration. This is what the majority found. Going back here, now after we heard that, okay, Now that we've heard that, let's go back. New evidence has emerged of the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history. I've declassified a House Intel Oversight Majority staff report that exposes how the Obama administration manufactured the 2017 IC assessment that they knew was false. The majority report didn't quite say that, did they? Now, there's a whole lot in there. You can read through it. Feel free to debunk me wherever you feel appropriate. So, again, the crazy thing about this is they're consistently trying to go after Obama. We'll see in a later press conference, they asked Caroline Levitt whether or not Donald Trump's position is that they should be, whether Obama should face charges. Keep in mind, some of these charges that he could be facing expired with the statute of limitations. And secondly, which is also a huge issue, the only thing they can really go after him for is, I'm not even kidding you, treason. And if they go after him from treason, crazy. That's crazy sauce. Mind you, this is all coming from the same administration, by the way, that tried to, do the whole January 6th thing. Jeffrey Epstein is, okay, there's no proof of that. Wow, just a soundbite? Not just a soundbite. You can go through the entire thing if you'd like. I like summaries. They're nice, clean, and easy. You can go through and read all of how they came to those conclusions.
It's very clear that Russia meddled in the election. It's also very clear that it didn't have an impact on the election.
Oops, I'm muted. Thank you, Spartacus. Thank you. Let's go back to this. Some of y'all are probably like, "Yeah, I can read his lips." So, on the topic of corruption, let's get to it. Donald Trump had a fundraising email that tells followers they can become and earn a MAGA Living Legend reward. Right here, MAGA Living Legend Award certificate. This certifies that Chris has been a contributing member of the American First Movement. Is awarded the certificate of MAGA Living Legend Award. Like cringe stuff from there. Also, Trump was hosting a $5,000 to $25,000 CPAC gala at Mar-a-Lago. While the entire economy is absolutely tanking, Americans can barely afford groceries, Donald Trump is holding a $5,000 to $25,000 gala. We also have Trump. This is a savage community note. Obama has a foundation, Clinton has a foundation, Biden has a foundation, Bush has a foundation, Trump doesn't. Any questions? And the context is Trump doesn't have a foundation because the Trump Foundation was dissolved by court order in 2018 due to multiple legal issues regarding fraud. And then we're going to get on to deportation. I think we're going to move into watching some stuff. The immigration stuff is not really a lot there. Again, it's just a lot of Stephen Miller and Tom Homan kind of doing a lot of crazy stuff. So... no, Jacob, I watch sources that show you the complete information, full interviews, full videos. Then prove me wrong, King Street. Go right ahead. I'm more than happy to see your context be added. So let's do this one. This is the media press conference by Caroline Levitt. We'll watch this for a little bit. I am down. By the way, if you guys have any recommendations, I am going to include our Discord link, by the way. Let's do this. Do Discord. Oops, hope that works. And then y'all can join the Discord. I know I got a lot of MAGA bots in here, and we're probably gonna have to sort through that, and that's completely okay. But you can go into the Discord, and I'm sure Nightbot will pop in here any second. Let's go ahead and do Discord. Hopefully it'll pop up. But anyways, you can go in there, join the Discord, and I would like for you guys to recommend some videos to watch. I don't know if there's any. I don't really want to be a drama streamer. So if you guys have any videos you want to watch, please let me know. All right. Let's watch this.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We have a special guest with
By the way, this was from today, like this afternoon.
us today who will speak momentarily. But first, I would like to begin with a message from the White House to the families of the victims in the brutal murder case in Idaho, who were sharing their heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones before the court today.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.
And addressing the evil killer who took 4 precious souls. We are so sorry for the grief and the pain you have experienced at the hands of such a vicious and evil killer. Our nation grieves with you, and we will never forget the precious souls who were lost in this horrific act of evil. If it were up to the president, he would have forced this monster to publicly explain why he chose to steal these innocent souls. May God bless and watch over everyone affected by this unimaginable.
They love to tout like God, but none of what they're doing, Jesus would condone.
Unimaginable.
Where's her cross? Is she repenting as the neo? Yeah, she kind of like lost that whole like thing. And remember when she first got up here, like back in the early administration, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be the most transparent and honest administration that we've ever had," and it's been anything but that.
Tragedy, especially the parents who.
She's hard to listen to, not gonna lie. Listen, Spartacus, if you have some other React Andy content, please provide it. But this is the best I can do, and to keep myself away from the drama streams. But I will say the drama streams do pretty well.
Lost their children. Let me begin with a few scheduling items off the top. Later this afternoon, President Trump will deliver the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit here in Washington, D.C. President Trump believes it is non-negotiable that the United States win.
King Street, one did, and several other police officers after the fact. But one MAGA did, and it was a totally justified incident. So
The AI race, which is why today President Trump will announce a bold and comprehensive AI action plan to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance. Under President Trump's leadership, our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security. The president will also sign 3 executive orders at the event this afternoon.
Let me go ahead and increase this.
On Friday morning, President Trump will travel to Scotland for a working visit that will include a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the historic U.S.-UK trade deal. On the topic of trade, yesterday, President Trump accomplished something no other president has ever achieved.
Sorry.
The president secured and announced 3 major trade deals with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan, all in one day. President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off. As a result of the president's successful negotiating tactics, many foreign markets are now being opened to American industries for the very first time, and harmful trade barriers are being broken down. Thanks to President Trump, these countries around the world are agreeing to open their markets to American-made products and goods for the first time, which will lead to a boom in sales and profits for American businesses right here at home. As President Trump said, he will only lower tariff rates if a country agrees to open their market to American-made products.
See, and this is the problem, right? Like, this is exactly the problem, right? I talked about this earlier, where their opening to American markets means giving them a 0% tariff. Right? Like, that's a 0% tariff on imports of all American products into their country. Again, on paper, this sounds like a good idea until you realize that a lot of those exports are things that we can't bring here in the United States, right? Like clothing manufacturing. We're not going to bring clothing manufacturing back to the United States. So we're going to get a lopsided deal there, right? We're going to be importing a lot of stuff from their country at a tariff rate. Meanwhile, they get a whole bunch of stuff for free from our end. If you wanted, see, this is where you could get creative with it, right? If you wanted to do a tariff on that particular country, right, where like all American imports, like raise that up, cool. Because guess what? Like, those countries are going to have to pay for those tariffs, you know, or not countries, but the businesses.
If not, they will continue to face tariffs and pay a steep price to do business in the United States of America, which remains the best market.
Yeah, that's the funny thing too, right, Osiris, is that they consistently do this. We're like, oh, Americans need these jobs. We got to put Americans back into fields. But guess what? Farmers are facing a shortage. As they're deporting farm workers, no MAGA is going into these field worker jobs. And in fact, a lot of farmers are turning towards AI.
On the face of the planet. Also this week, the president officially marked 6 months here at the White House. He made big promises to the American people on the campaign trail last year, and he has unquestionably delivered on those promises in record time. The president has defeated the Biden inflation crisis to make America affordable again. Core inflation is currently at its lowest level in 4 years, and prices for everyday goods are falling. The president's pro-growth policies have fueled massive job growth across our country. Since the president has taken office, our economy has added nearly 700,000 new jobs, with native-born American workers accounting for all job gains. The president has put the economic needs of families and of workers first. He signed the largest tax cuts for the middle class in American history, including no tax on tips.
Yeah, that same no tax on tips, by the way, guys, not completely correct. And I think like the no tax on overtime is only like for so much, and after you reach a certain threshold, you can't do that anymore. And again, we're going to see the largest wealth transfer due to these tax cuts. These tax cuts are going to lead to the wealthiest getting a very large percentage of that, or not percentage, a large dollar value of that tax break, even though it'll be a smaller percentage. They're going to see upwards of $600,000 back in their pocket. The lowest wage earners are going to see like maybe mere dollars. And I'm talking like probably 10 to 20 bucks. It's going to be virtually like nothing.
Overtime in Social Security. We have also seen the president unquestionably deliver on his promise to secure our southern border. He has ended Biden's illegal alien invasion, and for 2 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country.
See, okay, this is that wordplay I was just talking about, right? So what she's saying, I want you guys to focus on this and stop playing with these word games. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and see if I can show you guys this stat here. Okay, look up Southwest. Thought I had pulled up. Type in Southwest border encounters. I want to show you just how she's being deceptive. So let me pull up the land border encounters here for you guys. All right, let's go ahead and copy this. We'll go over here. All right. So Southwest land border encounters, look at this right here, guys. So this looks like it's near 0, and it is down. But look at that, June. 9,306 enforcement encounters. What I want you to also notice is a couple of other things. You see here in December of fiscal year 2024, by the way, fiscal year 2024 is actually December of 2023. The fiscal years are kind of weird. And you can see, look at this decline, guys. All under Biden. And then guess what? Now we have a steep decline. Now, again, what I have been very transparent with when it comes to this stuff is that
the president,
what I'm very transparent about when it comes to this stuff is that, yes, Trump's policies have led to lower border encounters, but don't be fooled. The idea that there's 0 people coming across the border is just patently incorrect. Okay, patently incorrect. 0 releases. What that means is that Donald Trump is encountering them, and he is taking them into custody and not releasing them back out into the public. Now, there's a whole host of those issues, by the way. So 0 releases just means they're not being released from ICE custody. That's it. Trump winning, we winning, Democrats crying, love it. That's great rebuttal, Alec. Great rebuttal. Oh my gosh, it's so insightful.
Has also, as you all know, initiated the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. The president has also restored law and order to make America safe again, another campaign promise he vowed to the American public. The United States of America is currently on track for its lowest murder rate on record, following this shift from...
I haven't looked at that, but again, I'm also extremely skeptical of that too, and seeing where the trend is going.
The last administration to the Trump administration. The president has also ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy. U.S. oil and natural gas production are now surging, and summer gas prices reached their lowest level since 2021.
Let's take a look at that. Oil and gas production. Let's see. Oil and gas production. Let's see. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's do EIA. Oh, here we go. Field production of crude oil. Oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that, huh? Look at that. Here, let me zoom in. Guess what? She's omitting a few small funny things here. Let me go ahead and zoom in here for you guys. All right. Let's take a look at this one. All right. Let's take a look at this one. Look at this, guys. What do you know? Look at this, boys. Look at this. We saw an increased trend in U.S. oil and gas production all throughout Biden's administration. And now they're like, hey, guys, we're at like a peak. 13,000 barrels per day, but we were still on a certain incline. We saw record levels of oil and gas production under Biden, but we'll ignore that, right?
The president has also rebuilt our military, another campaign promise. He just signed the largest military investment in decades to modernize our armed forces with cutting-edge technology to replenish our stockpiles and provide American troops with the best equipment in the world.
You're 100% correct, Jacob. Trump loves the stupid people because they'll never question him on any of his stats, even though it's clear as day the stats are completely incorrect.
The U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force have all reached their recruitment goals months in advance. The president has restored America's standing on the world stage, brought back peace through strength, and brokered numerous peace agreements to end wars. Again, all of this in just 6 months. He obliterated Iran's nuclear program to end the war between Israel.
He did not. It turns out that some of that Iran nuclear sites or whatever, it seems like they were set back by a few months from what I was able to read up on.
Israel and Iran got NATO members to raise their defense spending to 5% of GDP and secured a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, as well as brokering a historic agreement.
Yeah, I know. All of a sudden, the Biden administration will manipulate the numbers, but somehow Donald Trump's administration is so truthful, right? Right.
Between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The president has already received 3 different Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his peacemaking efforts.
This is hilarious. This is the reason why he's received these nominations is because a lot of other countries know that if they do that, they'll receive benefits.
Again, all of this progress, all of these accomplishments have occurred in just 6 months. We are truly just getting started, and we look forward to working with all of you for the next 3.5 years. On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people.
Thank you so much, AE. I appreciate that subscription. Hey, guys, real quick, another little 9 o'clock advertisement. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you are enjoying this content. And if you feel so inclined to donate a super chat or any kind of thing like that, you're more than welcome to. It's not forced on you guys. You can always do something free, and that's just simply liking the channel. If you are on Twitter or you are on Twitch, you can do me a solid favor and just like it and like the stream and go ahead and drop me a follow. All right, guys. Let's go back to the show.
While publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, in private, former President Obama went to great and
I gotta get better on the mute. Sorry, guys. Tell me that this doesn't look like this right here. It's so crazy, right? It's so crazy to me to see all that. Thank you so much for that subscription, Mel Brooks. I appreciate it. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go back over here. Let's go ahead and watch the stream.
Nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA.
Schizo said Trump could cure cancer and Dems would be mad that he put doctors out of business. Let's be very clear here, Schizo. I've actually said that the one thing that I could probably point to if someone asked me to say that Donald Trump was good on, I would say it would probably be the border. And let me be very, very clear. I mean that in the sense of border crossings, and that's about where it ends, right? He's done a good job in that regard. I think there's something to be said about being tough on the border. However, everything else after that, like deportations, treating of our migrants, these deportation camps are atrocious. He's cranked it up to like 100 out of 10. And it's terrible. So I go on.
CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of
True, James. How could Trump cure cancer when he's cut cancer funding? LOL, such a stupid argument there. Just repeating Trump's speech to Congress. Yeah, pretty much, right? And that's the crazy thing too, right, James? Is that that's all MAGA is best for. The best thing that, okay, first of all, this is a hilarious face. But second of all, that's all that MAGA does. They're like robots, right? I cannot compute and think for myself. And they just go off and start touting MAGA talking points. And again, it's wonderful to debate these guys. One of these days we'll do like an open call-in or something like that too.
National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew. There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized.
The stage to the stock market is at an all-time high. I guarantee you would have never have said that under Joe Biden. By the way, there was 34 some odd record highs under Joe Biden, but you'll never say that.
Intelligence agencies at the time. The Russia hoax was a blatant lie, all ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and leaked to the news media to launch a years-long witch hunt against President Trump and his first administration. Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets, and some even had their lives destroyed because of this vicious lie. The president's first 2 years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources, time, and political capital were spent having to debunk these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years later, thanks to the declassification of documents by...
The wall is in and of itself is not enough. You would need technology and things of that nature. I wouldn't even say that the wall should be built per se. I think the wall that Donald Trump is trying to put up is more for himself.
Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared with defamatory lies. President Trump was right from the beginning about all of this, and we are grateful that justice can be served. Now, we have even more damning evidence implicating those who tried to sabotage a duly elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified 2020 report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help elect President Trump in 2016. And in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the
Let's be very clear. So what she's referring to is not totally correct. So what she's trying to say is that Putin did not help Donald Trump. And depending on the way you look at it, again, the assessment, the IC assessment for 2016 did show that there was Russian interference, but the Obama administration was trying to do their best to try to word that release so that they did not interfere in the election. And then in 2017, they did release in January something to suggest that it was, in fact, that they were trying to help Donald Trump get elected. And again, it just makes a lot of sense as well, given how Donald Trump and Putin have talked. But nonetheless, it's not totally correct. And again, the idea is there's no denying the fact that Russia did push and seems to have put an online social media campaign. This is admitted from every single aspect of this administration.
Usual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this hoax. It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative. I will now pass it over to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to speak more about all of this, and then we will open it up for questions afterwards. Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
I agree with Jacob. The right should stop getting freebies from blue states. The Republicans consistently give out, or Republicans consistently take money from the government and never give anything back.
At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination of the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September.
Keep in mind that Trump and Tulsi have had some pretty rocky history over the past few months, by the way.
Of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the intent.
No, listen to this, right? So she sits there, and the first thing she does is she's like, this has nothing to do with Democrats. It has nothing to do with Republicans. But listen to her language literally seconds after what she gives.
Integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people...
It's rich that she's saying this, by the way, too, in light of everything that happened on January 6th.
...deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President.
Yeah, and again, if you look back at like the stuff she released from like September of 2016 and the emails, again, the emails were specifically saying that they wanted to word the release in a way that it did not interfere in the election. So this is patently false. This is patently incorrect. What I was talking about is have high judicial weight. I mean, I guess get your Obama did a coup while not in office. Don't go after. All right.
Trump, even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House.
Hey, that's a good point too, right? James, it's a good point. The FBI did the same shit to Hillary, saying they were investigating the emails before the election. Exactly. That's a good point too, right? Like, there's two ways to Sunday on this, right? The one is saying that Russia interfered, and the other part of that was saying that the FBI was investigating, which is also interesting, right? Because they're like, well, Comey went after Trump. It's like, but Comey announced the investigation into Hillary, which was huge. It was huge back then. In hindsight, it's kind of crazy to think about that was the huge story.
Intelligence report, which investigated the claims
it's
that were made.
It's very clear that Russia meddled in the election.
It's
also very clear that it didn't have an impact on the election. It's very clear that Russia meddled in the election.
Yo, if there was any time for that to play, that was beautifully timed. I did not plan that. That was hilarious. Okay, let's just be very clear. That was perfect timing.
By President Obama.
It was almost like it was like Sarah Huckabee Sanders came out of nowhere saying, "Hey guys, Russia did not interfere." As Tulsi's talking about how Russia it's hilarious.
Published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate.
See, and you got to watch how they're saying this, right? Again, watch how these politicians use these words, right? She's saying that there was no preferential treatment. Obama never said that there was. If I'm not mistaken, Obama never said there was preferential treatment towards one or the other. Although some of the IC assessments certainly did look that way, I don't believe Obama ever did come out and say that.
In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment...
Wait. That's not correct. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the leaking. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January...
Okay, yeah, that's accurate. I thought she said something else.
January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory.
Okay, so wait, let me get this right. So Putin saved it, the most damaging stuff, for when Hillary was elected. Would that not imply where Putin's preference was? Like, that kind of implies it, right? Like, if Putin's going to put something out that's going to damage Hillary Clinton's presidency, like, that's patently like saying that Putin is clearly for Trump then, right? Like,
the report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts, like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidency.
Now, keep in mind, all of this is going on to try to shade, like, to cover for Donald Trump and Epstein. Like, that's why this is being released at this time. Let's be very clear. The reason we're watching this is because it's something that took place today. But why this is coming out right now is because of the whole Epstein file things. Very convenient timing. It's just like why they've literally the past week, they have tried throwing everything at the wall, right? They threw the Russia thing. They threw out the Washington commanders. They even mentioned that Donald Trump has an ailment. They then try to sit there and say that there was, like, they just constantly were throwing things at the wall. Let's be very clear, right?
Presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked.
Again, if Putin is waiting to, like, put information out on Hillary to prepare for Hillary's run, it almost makes sense to me then that, like, he has a preferential treatment towards, like, Trump. So I don't get that. But anyways.
Steele dossier to assess, quote unquote, Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were, quote unquote, planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency.
See, this whole thing, by the way, guys, surrounds around the fact that she thinks that, you know, first of all, as if Obama said anything about this. Second of all, it's rich because Obama is protected by presidential immunity. And also, lastly, like the fact that she's sitting here, she's not denying the fact that Russia interfered. Her argument is that somehow, some way, after the election, by the way, after the election, that all of a sudden somehow this intelligence community said that it was, I guess, Russia had a preference. See, like this is crazy to me, right? Because, like, think about it. Is she saying then that, like, they should have came out with that information prior to the election? Like, how is it election? I don't understand the connections here. Yeah, I agree, Guts. No more. What about the files? Yeah, let's get through this. This is really boring. And look at this. It goes forever. All right, we'll get to the questions.
Just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving.
After the election, Obama undermined Trump. Trump undermined Biden. What are you talking about? This is the problem, right? Trump did the same shit that they're accusing Obama of. All we heard for 4 years was how Trump won. Trump won. So spare me. Like, this is the exact same thing. And it's even, in my argument, it's even worse what happened with J6. Like, Obama coming out going, hey guys, Russia might have had a preferential treatment towards Trump is far less crazy to me than J6.
The criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
Let's be very clear. This is also coming from the same woman who is in the Trump administration that sought to overturn the lawful slate of electors. Which one's worse, guys? I mean, just work with me here. Obama coming out and saying, hey, Russia preferred Trump, or Trump sitting there concocting a scheme to try to take over the presidency. Which one's worse? Please tell me.
The Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us, from a 50,000-foot level, explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking.
It is necessarily being politicized. Like, in order for you to make this claim that Obama somehow was trying to undermine Trump's administration is politicizing this entire thing. When every single investigation has come out and shown that Russia interfered with the election, and your quibble is that somehow they were saying that Russia had a preferential treatment for Trump. You are politicizing this.
You and the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals, who are some still working within these agencies today, that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn. That President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And it's your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
Like, I don't understand what the end goal here is, right? That they concocted this story. So we know that there was Russian interference, right? We know that this happened. And this is what's so hard for me to understand. Let's say that this is all true, that Obama sat there and concocted this story. What purpose does it serve that Russia preferred Trump? Like somebody said in the chat, right? FBI came out and said Hillary Clinton's email was under FBI investigation.
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence, and you will know the truth.
John.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Director Gabbard. You declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI...
I'm a little bit limited on time, so we're going to skip through this. I want to get to where just Caroline Levitt. So there's a lot of questions between Tulsi Gabbard and Caroline Levitt. So I'm gonna fast forward to just Levitt, and we'll have to watch this another time. I have a hard cutoff, but if you get 10 super chats, just saying, 10 super chats at $5 or more, then we get we can extend it an hour. That's the goal for the super chat thing. But again, don't feel forced. By the way, I'll take this moment. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you have not already. Welcome to the Vince Wilson Show. We stream Wednesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are going to add a TikTok slot. I believe next week. I don't know yet when, but we're going to do TikTok debates as well. That's probably going to be Monday or Tuesday. Anyways, all right, back to the show. Let's go ahead and bring in Caroline Levitt.
Any other further questions, I'm happy to take them. Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So the Japan trade deal, is that Japan trade deal the start of this number of trade deals that the Treasury Secretary says we're going to see by August 1st?
I think it is. I mean, as you said, we had Japan yesterday. We also had Indonesia, and we had the Philippines as well. The president announcing all three. He came in as the closer in all three of those. I've said many times from this podium that the president's trade team has been in active talks and discussions with many countries around the world, and you've all been anxiously awaiting what those countries were. Now you know three of them, and there's many, many more to go. We have now sent 25 letters to countries around the world.
Which, by the way, Donald Trump, he considers letters deals. This is something he said very much open, is that Donald Trump thinks that sending letters are considered deals. Not even kidding you. True story.
But just to reiterate this Japan deal, for those at home who may have missed it, Japan will now pay a 15% tariff versus the reciprocal rate of 24% that what they initially had. Auto and auto parts tariffs have been reduced.
Nick said, I commented one time, I gotta chill out on my freaking Nightbot, y'all. I sincerely apologize. It's so dumb and so sensitive. Forgive me. I am gonna correct Nightbot and put him in timeout for a little bit. He needs to get corrected. Anyways.
To 15%, but the centerpiece of this deal now is the president got Japan to commit to $550 billion in investments to revitalize American industries. And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding. And the U.S.
I know, Nick. It's super weird. Like, if someone puts all caps, like everyone, right? Like, it says stop spamming caps. It's so dumb. I'm going to go fix the Nightbot after I get off stream and try to figure it out so it's not so crazy.
90% of the profits from any investments made by this $550 billion fund. This was originally a $400 billion investment that President Trump then negotiated to an increase of $150 billion, making it a $550 billion deal for the American people. And I just want to emphasize, Ed, I see you have a follow-up, but it's very important. Japan has agreed to open their markets to many very key sectors in American-made products that have...
I'm going to keep playing this.
Really faced very strict tariff and non-tariff barriers prior. So thanks to the president, Japan's markets will now be open to American-made products and goods. This is big news for our tech companies and our farmers as well.
On Monday, the Treasury Secretary is going to Stockholm to talk to the Chinese delegation. What does the president hope to get out of that meeting? Are there deliverables?
There we go. Y'all should be good
I won't speak to any deliverables or set expectations. I'll let the Secretary of Treasury do that. But I did speak to him yesterday about his upcoming trip, and he looks forward to continuing discussions with his Chinese counterparts. The president has ensured that we have a good continuing working relationship with China that benefits the United States. And so the Secretary of Treasury will be obviously discussing those key matters, but I'll let him set the expectations.
More, if I may,
sure.
Given what the DNI just said.
Oh, yo, Nightbot's going ham. Nightbot. Yo, I'm so sorry. I just realized Nightbot's like timing out people. Holy crap. 51 timeouts today. Y'all, I am so sorry about that. If y'all are timed out, let me know. I'm so sorry.
And laid out. Does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Special Envoy Wickoff is headed overseas again.
Good to see you, Olivia. I haven't seen you since the campaign trail.
Good to see you. He's headed back overseas. Can you give us a sense of what the marching orders are to some of the people he'll be meeting with, and specifically as it relates to Gaza and ongoing talks there?
Yes. Special Envoy Wickoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders from the Middle East to discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict in Gaza and to release the hostages. These are very sensitive.
Hey, Spartacus, I appreciate you trying to time out Nightbot, but Nightbot's like, yo, I'm gonna time you out. Nick Bowling said, I think we can all agree, Democrat, Republican, we are gonna miss Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, man. Rest in peace to the legend Ozzy, man. Tragic news to hear. It was crazy to hear that, like, the last song he played or whatever was like, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Bro, that hit hard. That hit hard.
sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place. I spoke to Special Envoy Witkoff last night about them. I will let him speak further on the matter, but the President and Special Envoy Witkoff has made the administration's goals clear. We want this ceasefire to happen as soon as possible, and we want these hostages to be released. Go ahead.
They've been talking about a ceasefire like for months. This is what's hysterical to me. They're like, we made a ceasefire. Oh, we're going to pretend we didn't have a ceasefire. And this, like, you know, I feel like it was just a few months ago that they claimed they had a ceasefire, but now they don't. It's
a Florida federal judge refused to allow the Epstein grand jury materials to be released. Does the president want the administration or Department of Justice to appeal that ruling?
That was just breaking as the director and I were coming out here, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the president about it. I understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing, but I'll let this president speak to whether he wants to see an appeal in the Department of Justice. I'm sure can give you a statement on that as well.
And is he supportive of the effort to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? I know that Todd Blanchard mentioned that earlier this week.
The president spoke to this yesterday, and he said he thinks it's an appropriate idea. Kelly.
Again, I think it's hysterical, too, because Donald Trump sent his personal attorney, who is now working in the Department of Justice, to go and speak to Ghislaine Maxwell. Let that sink in. Donald Trump's former personal attorney, now working under his administration, going to speak to Ghislaine Maxwell. Pretty crazy stuff.
The accountability that you would like to see if this current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court, and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting president's responsibilities in office cannot lead to
Sonia, Michael Warner was Epstein's attorney, wasn't he?
Prosecution, immunity. So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not.
I'm dumb. Malcolm Warner, because Epstein's attorney, I swear, Epstein's attorney passed away. Michael Warner is Huxtable. A little bit past my time, but he was on the Cosby Show. I know what you're talking about. But yes, rest in peace to him as well. True legend as well. I feel like a lot of people didn't really, talk about that one after Ozzy Osbourne passed away.
So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Well, you would agree President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
In light of the Japan deal, are sectoral tariffs now up for negotiation with trading partners? And in a similar note, are these negotiators asking for investment funds, sort of like what Japan had agreed to?
As for sectoral tariffs, I understand that the president continues to be in talks with our Secretary of Commerce. We have made commitments on various sectoral tariffs, as you know. The Department of Commerce has initiated studies to then move forward with implementing those sectoral tariffs. So I would defer you to them for further comment. Meredith.
I wanted to ask if the White House has any update on the Commerce Department employee who's been detained or banned from exiting China, and if there are any efforts to get him out.
I can assure you and the American people that the administration is actively monitoring the situation and engaged, but typically we don't comment on individual cases like this as we are sorting them out. Sure.
Yes.
Behind you, Dr. Harper, sorry. Go ahead, to the lady sitting down in the blue. Yes.
Thanks,
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Caroline also. Caroline Voda with the Center Square.
Great.
So Republicans in the Senate today said that they are pulling back on legislation to impose sanctions on Russia after the president said he wants to act unilaterally. Can you elaborate on what the president intends to do?
Look, the president has been in very close communication with his friends in the Senate, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, on this issue. But the president has always maintained, he's the commander-in-chief and the president for a reason, and he has been deeply involved in this conflict since the beginning. And so any decisions that are made with respect to sanctions, the president wants to reserve that authority and that right to himself. Jasmine.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions for you. The first on AI. Does President Trump support federal agencies contracting with Elon Musk's AI company?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he would want the DOJ to then cancel the contract with Roth.
I'll talk to him about it, yes.
And my second question, just, obviously the developments with the Epstein case with the judge, but I wonder, has the White House counsel, the DOJ explored any other documents that could be released to the public that don't have to do with that grand jury testimony?
To my knowledge, the Department of Justice has moved forward with the request to unseal that grand jury testimony, and as you know, they have also moved forward with interviewing Ms. Maxwell, which I believe will be taking place very soon. Go ahead. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a question about Paul Ingrassia, the OSC nominee who faces a Senate committee hearing tomorrow. Tom Tillis said that he wouldn't vote for Ingrassia if a vote came to the Senate floor. 24 worker advocacy groups have said that they don't support his nomination. What is the White House planning to do to sort of turn the tide or convince legislators that they should vote for him?
The White House is always in communication with members of both the Senate and the House, and we stand by the president's nominees. Sure.
In connection with the Mueller investigation, a grand jury indicted 13 Russians. President Putin has said he will never extradite those men. Given the new information that Ms. Gabbard has found, what's the administration's position on that case? Should those charges be dropped?
I don't have an update for you on that case, but I'll check in with the National Security Council, and our team will get you something. Sure.
Thank you so much. So Fannie Willis and Jack Smith separately, they both charged President Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States and a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. It now turns out we're confirming that Obama and his cronies were doing that the whole time in 2016 on a massive scale, falsifying documents and having their intel agencies do this. What does this say about the 2020 election? And also, yeah, what's your thoughts on the irony here?
There is a lot of irony, especially for the party of the Democrat Party, who claims to be for democracy. We often heard throughout the 2024 campaign they were calling this president a threat to democracy. And now I think the declassification of all of these documents proves that they were indeed the true threat to democracy. And as I said repeatedly today, there needs to be justice and accountability for that. You all will hear directly from the president later this afternoon at the AI Summit here in Washington, D.C., scheduled to speak later in a few hours. So we will see you all there. Thank you very much.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on there, but yeah. One thing I'm trying to do right now, guys, is I want to see there's a way to do this. Yeah, if you guys right now, we got 500 people watching. If you can go ahead and do me a huge solid, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. That would mean the world to me. And then let's go ahead and get those likes up, guys. We stream Wednesday and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I would greatly appreciate that. So give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Trying to see something here. You just do click content, go to the live tab. Okay. But anyways, guys, I appreciate every single one of you guys that are in here. I'm going to have to figure this out because I have no idea why it's not letting me do what I wanted to do. I'm trying to... I don't know what's going on with this stuff. It's annoying the crap out of me. I'm trying to figure this thing out, and it's destroying me right now. I don't know. I'm trying to redirect you guys. Hey, do me a huge favor, guys. I have no idea how to rate into anybody on my YouTube channel, but do me a favor. We'll figure it out. In the meantime, please go drop a follow right now. Go and check out our boy. I'm Really Important. I'm trying to get him over there. He's doing a thing right now, I believe, on TikTok, doing some TikTok live stuff. I can't figure out how to rate him at all on YouTube. So just go give him a follow. Go give him a look. Let him know that I'm kind of like in a roundabout way rating him. I just don't know how to do it. I'm trying to figure it out for the life of me, and it's driving me up a wall. So, yes, it's just not working, and it's driving me up a wall. Yeah, I don't know. It says click customization. I have no idea. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for that. I appreciate everybody coming in here. Please hit the like, subscribe, notification bell. I will see you guys on Friday. Can't rave with shorts. That's what it is, Spartacus. Thank you. I didn't know that. All right, guys. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. I look forward to seeing you guys Friday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget that Mondays or Tuesdays, we will be doing TikTok Lives. But thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for everybody who subscribed. Y'all are super awesome. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday. Thank you for all of you guys. Seriously. Thank you for that, Spartacus.